Superpower and Muppets. This is the title of this podcast. The anti-Cold War shows that the Soviet Union always wanted to be a superpower. But as it was impossible in reality, it used Muppets to support this idea. Its Muppets were the small brothers and their small barbarities, which worked for the fatherland. The use of Muppets permitted to its people to consider the Soviet Union as a superpower. You can see that you use small things and the normal thing becomes what? The giant thing. An efficient way to do this was to avoid real war with many treaties and to make only proxy war, because the reality would show that it was a fake superpower. Any move in reality was dangerous. That's why the virtual moves were its preferred at the higher level. In this method, the virtual was compatible with the fake history, and the interpretation gave always a solution in case of contradiction. For example, the Soviet Union's lack of a reality was compensated by its imagination to create always new scenarios to explain its failure with the eternal change of its targets. For that, the Soviet Union was at the state of art. But this preparation was not sufficient to start the Cold War, and its defeat was predictable. So, what we have? We have a fake superpower with real Muppets. If you talk only to Muppets, you seem to be a giant. You don't want real wars because there will be an impact with reality. So to create your fake history, you can use only proxy wars, small wars in very specific targets, but no big war. So you are in a Cold War with proxy wars, which are the hot point, the flash points of the Cold War. So you can control everything at the very low level. At the high level, you create fake history with new scenarios all the time. When you have a problem, even in the virtual case, you can imagine another scenario which explains not your defeat, but the secret scenario, which was below the previous one. So everything seems to be an explanation. It's a continuum of explanations. Why? Because you always made what? Corrections, corrections, corrections to prove that, in fact, in the beginning of the process, you have predicted this result. So you say, for example, I will go to the moon. Not exactly, just in the space. Oh, not exactly at the high level of the atmosphere. Oh, not exactly at the low level of the atmosphere. After that, you said that, oh, you know, I just wanted to go to the next city. You explain everything and you say, this was a false flight. this was a strategy to avoid the intervention of the enemies. But my real target from the beginning was this. And we can see that even now in Russia, not in the Soviet Union, we have the same principle to do the same things. So we say, for example, we will go in the whole Ukraine, just in Kiev. At the end, just Donbass, Luhansk, maybe just Crimea, and maybe we can go back in Russia. And we can prove that because we did that, we won. Because Russia is free. Because we went to Ukraine, we show to the others our weapons. Now they are afraid. And now in Russia, we are free due to that. So you see that is an explanation post-event. Okay, you create events, you have to correct them, and at the end of the process, because you have always your explanation from your famous journal, Pravda, you can explain everything. So it's interesting. Why? Because you know that you can't do everything, but you can explain everything. So in your interpretation, you are always a winner. By the way, because your people read only your interpretation, not the facts, not the real war. So in their interpretation, they believe to a savior. They believe to what? To a winner. So the disappointment and the defeat of the Cold War was huge. Why? Because all the time, from the beginning to the end, the Soviet Union was a winner. It was a Soviet winner, not a Soviet Union only. So at the end of the process, because all that time they used the deny to prove their explanations, at the end of the process, you have people which are very disappointed because they thought that all the time they were winning. So in fact is what? You remember the building, you jump and you say at each roof, you say what? Each level, everything is good until now. But at the end, you know what is going to happen. And this is a clash in 1991.